In this video, I'm going to show you how you set up your local development environment with PromptFlow SDK. So we're going to write a simple prompt and run it from the application code. I'm going to show you how you can trace your LLM calls. An LLM stands for Large Language Model, and it's a term commonly used in AI. And at the end, we are going to run an evaluation on the output of this LLM. To get started, let's go to my Azure AI Studio and create a new project. I'm gonna leave everything to the default values for the project name, and I'm going to create a new hub. Let's go to the second page. And I'm going to change the location of my project to be Australia East. And let's go to the last page and create our project. Alright, now my project is ready, so let's go to deployments. And I'm gonna deploy a basic model for GPT version 4 as we did before. Alright, and let's go ahead with that and deploy our model. Alright, my deployment is done, so let's go to the playground and just test my model to make sure it's working. Are you alright? Yep, and as you can see here, we are getting a response back, so all good. Now I'm gonna get back to my project overview page, and then I'm gonna go to my resource group in Azure portal. And here I need to create a role assignment. So I'm gonna go to the access control, and I'm gonna add role assignment for cognitive AI user. And let's go to the second page. And I'm going to choose my account. And then I'm gonna go ahead and assign this role assignment to my account. Well, this is kind of useless because I'm already an owner in this resource group, and I'm just showing you this step in case if you are not the owner or the contributor of the resource group and the required resources. And to be more specific, if I'm gonna get back to the resource group here, we need to have this role assignment for the AI service and for a storage account. But I added this role assignment for the whole resource group just for simplicity. Now I'm gonna go ahead and open PowerShell, and we need to install a few things. First of all, we need to install Azure CLI. So we are gonna type win-get install -e:/id Microsoft.Azure CLI. And I have it already installed on my machine, but I'm just showing you the steps. Now let's go ahead and log into Azure by typing az login, and I'm going to log to my Azure account. And as you can see here, it asks me to choose the right subscription. So I'm gonna go ahead with that, and now we are all good. Alright, now I need to install Python. So let's get back to Chrome and download and install Python on my machine as well. And after you do that, we get back to PowerShell and run this command. py-3-m v environment, as you are creating a virtual environment in Python. And I'm gonna call it ai.v environment. And let's go ahead with that. As you can see here, we have got access denied because I need to go to a different path. So I'm gonna go for cd dev, and then I'm gonna run the Python command again. py-3-m v environment, and then I'm gonna put the path, which is gonna be cdev ai.v environment. And let's go ahead with that. Beautiful. So now we have created a virtual environment. So if I'm gonna open my Windows Explorer here, you should be able to see the virtual environment that we have created in this path. All right. Now what I need to do is to activate this virtual environment. And as a way to prove it, we can type where.exe python to see where we are at. As you can see here, we don't have the virtual environment path that we have created. So in order to do that, we need to run the activate for my virtual environment. So if I'm gonna get back to the virtual environment here and go to scripts, we will need to run the activate here to activate the virtual environment. So I'm gonna get back to PowerShell here and I'm gonna go to my ai.virtualenvironment scripts, then activate. However, as you can see here, I don't have a permission to do that. So I'm gonna check my execution policy. And as you can see here, it is restricted for the current user. So what I'm gonna do now is to set execution policy for the current user to be all signed. Now let's double check it. Now I have changed my execution policy to be all signed for the current user. Now let's try to rerun the activate one more time. As you can see here, I'm able to get through. So let's go ahead and run it. Now we are in our virtual environment that we have created. And as a way to prove it, let's run where.exe python. But there is a typo here, so let me fix it up, python. And now we should be able to find our virtual environment path in where.exe python. All right. And after we activated the virtual environment, we need to install PromptFlow SDK. pip install PromptFlow, and let's go ahead with that. All right, I now installed PromptFlow SDK, so let's go ahead and install pip install Azure-identity, and let's go ahead with that. Beautiful. Now I need to install some packages. Let's do them one by one. Pip install PromptFlow -core. Right, and then same thing, pip install PromptFlow tracing. Right, then we are gonna do pip install PromptFlow dev kit. Right, now we are gonna do pip install OpenAI. Great, and the last one, pip install python -env. Alright, now we are all good. Now, what I need to do now is to get back to my Windows Explorer and I'm gonna go to ai.venvironment folder and I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna call it environment.environment. This is where I'm gonna be storing my local environment variables. Alright, let's go ahead with that. And I'm gonna open this file in Visual Studio Code. Alright, now let's get back to Chrome. And I'm gonna copy these few lines here that I need to put in my Visual Studio Code. And I've increased my font a little bit to make it clear for you. Now I need to specify 3 environment variables here in this file. The OpenAI endpoint, chat deployment, API version. So now let's get back to my AI Studio and let's go to chat, which is the playground for my project that we have created. And in here, we should be able to see the deployment name, GPT-4. So let's get back to Visual Studio Code and put GPT-4 in the deployment name. Alright, now let's get back to AI Studio and click on View Code. And if we scroll all the way down here, we should be able to copy the endpoint for my AI model. So let's get back to my Visual Studio Code and put it here in the endpoint variable. Finally, I need to provide API version. So let's get back to my AI Studio, and I should be able to see the API version here in the code after version equal, API version equal. I'm gonna copy this part only, and I'm gonna take it over to my local environment variable file in Visual Studio. And let's go ahead and save our changes. Great. Now I'm gonna get back to Microsoft documentation, and I will need to create a PromptFlow file. So let's get back to Windows Explorer and create a new PromptFlow file. I'm gonna call it chat.promptflow. And then let's open it in Visual Studio Code. Alright, now let's get back to Chrome and copy this section and put it over in a chat.promptflow file. And let's save our changes. Alright, now we will need to create one more file in Windows Explorer. So I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna call it chat.py. And let's go ahead with that and open it in Visual Studio Code. Beautiful. Now let's get back to the documentation here and copy this section for my chat.py file. Great. And as you can see here, it reads the values we have already provided in our environment variable file. And then it's gonna load our PromptFlow model based on the configuration we have provided. Alright, now let's get back to PowerShell. And now I'm gonna go ahead and I need to go first to this path, AI.virtual environment. Then I'm gonna run Python chat.py. Alright, as you can see here, we are getting some errors. We are not able to read the environment variables from the local environment variable file that we have created. So let's get back to Visual Studio and see how can we fix this. So what I need to do here is to add one more import from path library. I'm gonna import path. Beautiful. Then in the load.environment here, I am going to specify the path where I have my local environment variable files. So I'm gonna type here C dev AI.virtual environment, then environment.environment. Alright, let's go ahead and save our changes and run it again from PowerShell, Python chat.py. Alright, we are all good. We have been able to run our Python program without any problems. Now, let's go ahead and enable tracing so we actually can see more details about our LLM calls. So let's get back to Visual Studio Code and let's here add one more import from PromptFlow.tracing. Then I'm gonna import start_trace. Alright, and let's start _trace here at the top of my program. And let's save our changes and get back to PowerShell and run Python chat.py. Alright, as you can see here, we have got this tracing URL. So let's click on it. And as you can see here, we are able to see more information about our PromptFlow program and the LLM calls we have in our application. Alright, however, this is not all. And if we wanted to evaluate our prompt, we can get back to PowerShell and type pip install PromptFlow-evals to allow us to evaluate different models. Alright, now what I'm going to do now is to get back to Microsoft documentation and scroll down here, and I need to copy evaluate.py Python file. So I will need to create a new file. I'm gonna call it eval.py. And again, let's open it in Visual Studio Code. And let's paste our content here. And at the top, I need to add this import from path library to allow me to use my local environment variable file. And also I need to add this line here for load.environment to add the path for my local environment variable. So let's go ahead with that and save our changes. Now let's get back to PowerShell and run Python eval.python. Alright, as you can see here, this is the evaluation for our model, score 5 as you can see here. That's all I have for you in this video. Now let's go ahead and wrap it up. For the virtual environment we have created, you might need to deactivate it, or simply just closing PowerShell will deactivate any virtual environment you have activated before. Now let's get back to my AI Studio, or actually I'm gonna go to my Azure portal and I'm gonna delete the resource group altogether. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.